What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. Bit of a different setup today. In all truth, I wasn't planning on rambling, or certainly not recording a ramble today, so I've got none of my kit set up, but I'm always thinking about different content and things like that, and for some time I've been thinking about doing like a reaction to a press conference, and we know Hecky, he don't give an awful lot away, does he, usually, so there's not often a lot of news to come out of him. So what was going to play today for you guys was the Newcastle preview, which I've done with John Sinclair from John Sinclair TV, looking at the game on Sunday. So that'll now come out tomorrow. And today instead, we're going to look at HECKY'S press conference, because I thought, well, for starters, there were some really good questions put to him by a friend of the channel, Rob Staton from Radio Sheffield. So thank you to Rob for getting a little bit more out of Hecky than we used to. But it's been quite a newsworthy week, and obviously starting off, it touches on the really tragic circumstances of Maddie Cusack. Or because I thought the ramble that I'd already recorded were going to be today, the first time you'd have seen me, it would have been like my tribute to Maddie, just a few words. So I'm not going to repeat it, but I've obviously said a few words about Maddie in tomorrow's video. So rather than repeat myself, then obviously, hopefully you'll catch it there. But Hecky says very similar in terms of it's tragic news, and it's really hit everybody, him as well, at the club, because she was so close to a lot of people at the club. He was asked if we're going to look at doing a tribute to Maddie in any way at the game, and he said they're looking at all options and they would love to do something like that, but as always with these things, and it's the right thing to do, they're going to respect the wishes of the family first and foremost. So it's not a yes or a no on that, although it would be very nice to be able to, whether that's just applause from the crowd at a certain minute of the game, whether it's a minute's silence beforehand. I don't know what the plans are currently, or if there's going to be any. Again, it'll be largely down to Maddie's family to have a big say in what happens on Sunday. So again, just all our thoughts and prayers out to Maddie's family. So yeah, back to the football. He was asked about if he's been spoken to about his comments, because there were a few that thought he might get in a bit of hot water from his referee's comments post-game after Spurs, and he said yeah, he has been spoken to, and it were quite positive conversations. He'd just spoken with Howard Webb and John Moss from the PGMOL. He said there were constructive conversations. He wanted to clarify that a lot of his points that we were trying to raise weren't that it were little old Sheffield United being punished. He understands the perception that when Sheffield United are winning at Tottenham, there's going to be a perception that we're going to time waste and we want to try and hang on to it, because that's real life, that's reality, it's the game we're in. But he noted that we averaged 18 seconds for our goal kicks. Man United were averaging 21 seconds, Brentford averaged 29, I think he said, which is ridiculous, and didn't get penalised. So it's purely the perception. All he wants is consistency. That's what he kept saying. Don't threaten to book us when we're not exceeding any rules or breaking anything in terms of the laws of the game. So I thought, again, he spoke really well. I thought he spoke fantastically well throughout the presser about some really difficult topics, and he didn't stop there, because Rob, quite rightly, asked him, he'd already been asked by a previous journalist about how do you feel about your future being in question after everything you've achieved at the club, but then your first 5 games. Sky Sports kept referring to it as 1 point in 15, 1 point in 15, just hammering home that message that we've not picked up the points that perhaps his performances have deserved. And Rob asked him the question again, because we didn't get a sufficient answer. Basically, Hecky said to the first question, look, it doesn't affect me, it clearly affects him, but what he means is, and it's a saying that my dad always says to me, if you can't change something, then there's no need to worry about it. So what Hecky was saying basically was, it's not a question for me, it's a question for the board. So Rob's asked him again, and he's, in terms of, what do you think about Chris Wilder being rumoured to come back to the club and replace you? And he said, look, I can't, it's not my decision, it's not something I want to concern myself with, because he can't change anything other than carrying on doing the job that he's doing, can he, and trying to get the best results for the club. And Rob pushed him on it, to be fair to Rob, and I thought, fair play, because this is what we want to hear as fans. He were like, have you sought any assurances from the board? Have you spoken to anybody from higher up? And he said, yes, Stephen Bettis has assured him that it's nonsense. And Hecky went on to say, I'm sure there's no smoke without fire and things of that nature, but what came through, what the common thread was that I picked up from this presser was, he's very comfortable with his position in the club, and obviously everybody wants results to be better, but more than ever it appeared as though Hecky and the Prince and the board are all on the same page. They're all fighting for the same cause. Hecky was praising the business that we'd done. I know he had an issue initially with his timings, and I think there's a little bit of gamesmanship that comes with managers in terms of, well, we could have done this and we could have done that, but, you know, I'm an employee of the football club, not to do with me. I think everybody's got to apportion a little bit of blame along the way, but he did say, if you look at what situation we could have been in 12 months' time, in a contract situation where there were difficult decisions and probably problems down the line, he said, we've now resolved those issues and they're no longer an issue for the club, and we're in a better place. And it's all positive for the club in that regard. He was asked if he felt like he had the full support of the board. He said, yeah. And Rob asked him again, do you think it's unfair that your future is talked about so often? And he basically said, yeah, I do. But that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? So, fair play to Hecky. You can't argue, can you? Nath Emmingham released an article, I think it was either today or yesterday, where he looked deeper into the perception of United, if you like. And a lot of people are, obviously, we've talked about lazy journalists and things like that just automatically write us off without seeing any performances. But what Nath was saying was, what they don't realise is, this is a long-term plan for United, and this is us safeguarding ourselves. Obviously, we want to stay in the Premier League. That don't even need to be said. But if we do get relegated, we have safeguarded ourselves as a club to be in the best possible position to come back. And I think it's been such smart. Listen, I'm not saying we haven't bumbled our way at times to get to this position. But even if you recognise your mistakes along the way, as long as you rectify them, then you can't ask more than that as a fan base, personally. He was then questioned on another sensitive topic, which was Wes being racially abused after the Tottenham game, and ridiculous. You know, I can't put it as eloquently as Hecky did. And again, he answered fantastically well. What a fantastic ambassador he is for our club. And what he basically said was, it's not a Tottenham problem, it's a football problem. You know, it could have been any set of fans that were abusing him, it'll be the minority, but why? Why does football give anybody the green light to abuse anyone else, whether it be due to their race or anything? He says it's one of the poorest managed things around the game, and it's a poor reflection on the sport, and we all need to get better at managing it. Maybe when someone gets properly punished for it, it might wake a few people up, and he also acknowledged we've come a long way, but it's still not rectified, and we have to keep going. He's asking lads, he says he's spoken to Ryan Brewster as well about it, and they've sort of said, yeah, we're fine. But why should they be fine? Why should it be accepted that that's just common practice and that they have to get used to it because they're young black lads? It's ridiculous. Absolutely. 2023. I don't get it. And I thought Hecky spoke fantastically well on it again. He said that Eags was back in full training, which is great to hear. So he won't be a problem for the weekend. I think that means Basham comes out. Personally, obviously, he'll see my team tomorrow in the preview, but I think that's better for us. I think we'll look a bit more solid. He alluded to the fact that McAtee and Bogle were likely to play. They'd not had much of a pre-season, but they'd shown that they can give everything they've got, really. He said Jayden Bogle hadn't had a pre-season at all due to his injury, so for him to go so long against Tottenham and play so well, because I think he did have a good game, was a credit to him, really. He asked how the squad felt after Spurs, and he said they were disappointed, and he let him know that he was disappointed, and reflected on that. Did he feel harsh saying that? And maybe, but he said he believes in the team and he believes in these players, and if they're going to get to the next level, then they need to feel that, and I love that because it's true. He was asked if there's a sort of siege mentality about United because everybody's writing them off, and he said, well, maybe there is, but he's not trying to harness that. So it was quite clear that, you know, sometimes there's levels in there, and what he said was that we'll sometimes play to our best at this level, and it won't be good enough. You could argue that we were close to it against Man City, I suppose. So another great press conference from Hecky, and it's just going to be a quick ramble, as I said today. How do you feel about the game on Sunday? I'm quietly confident. I tend to be, and I don't know how I keep picking myself up into and sort of having this positive approach, but I'm quietly confident that we can not just get something, I think we can beat them. I think the stars are aligning for a special performance, and fingers crossed we carry that through. But listen, maybe it's just wishful thinking. I want to thank Action Coach Sheffield for sponsoring this video as usual. They are our sponsors through to the end of the year, and it's very much appreciated. If you need any support for your growing business, they are the people to speak to. I am clear evidence of that. I've also got some really exciting news coming very early next week.
So excited!
Which I'll make sure I've got a video up and ready for. So stay tuned to the Ramble. You can do that by subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss any of our videos. One thing I will say is, and this is quite embarrassing to sort of say on a video, but you know I'm always transparent. We've had a drop off in Ramblers, and listen, you get the odd one or two. We tend to grow and grow and grow, and then one or even two might drop, and then we'll continue that growth, which is fantastic. And I understand people's situations are different, and it might be because of the change in content, but we've had a bit of a drop off, and the only thing I wanted to check was that nobody's having an issue with their membership, because sometimes, now that we've got the WhatsApp group, I've become aware of it. Some people have been messaging in saying, for some reason my membership's been cancelled without me knowing. So if you are a member and you want to carry on being a member, or a Rambler as we call it here, then please just check that that's accurate and it's still happening, because you know, if you're wanting to support the channel and thinking you're supporting the channel, but you're not, then nobody's benefiting, are they? So much appreciated. If you do want to become a Rambler, all the details are down below, but stay tuned to the Ramble. We've got some big news coming. We've got some further developments on where we're going in the future as well. All very exciting stuff. But all eyes on Sunday now. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades!
Ramble on!